I just privated it, but I think I think we back though. Yeah. All right, yeah. Y'all let us know how we sound now. Look like we had some technical difficulties, but that got taken care of real quick. Yeah, everything looks smooth now. We look good. We look good.
Amazing.
Yeah, we back at it. We back at it. All right. So, again, for just for everybody that wasn't able to hear Toya's response in terms of the question that was being asked, uh, it's the conversation about Trump, quote unquote, confronting South Africa's Ramaphosa with false claims of white genocide. All right. Donald Trump is supposed to be being on some diplomatic shit, and he's actually doing the exact opposite. He's using the White House as a bully pulpit for white nationalist fears and talking points, and the way that he attempted to challenge the South African president was on some nonsense. So the question that I asked Toya before we cut out was specifically what giving the state of what's happening with Gaza, the United States' role in what's happening with Gaza, and the United States' unwillingness, right? The fact that they completely reject the idea of calling what's happening in Gaza a genocide.
Mm-hmm.
What is behind the hypocrisy of Donald Trump challenging the South African president with claims of white genocide that have, to be clear, been debunked and are unfounded?
My answer, and I'll try to be more concise with it, is a couple things. One, the language of white genocide is an attempt to dog whistle and to virtue signal to white people that the United States is a safe haven, or it is becoming a safe place for white people, right? That the United States has a zero tolerance world for white people experiencing the same type of violence that they often allow or subject non-white people to around the globe. And they are making an international declaration that the United States is an oasis, a white oasis, right? In the face of a white genocide, we can become a place where you can find, everything from amnesty to support to, relationships and shit that really protect that life, white life. Now, what do we know about white life and the other relationships that the Trump administration has to it? Well, we look to Project 2025. Project 2025 is an infrastructure, a calculated framework for how it is that they want to create, the United States as a place that protects the presence and the futures of white life at the expense of pretty much everybody else. And what I was saying before is that these gestures toward South African white people, these gestures toward individuals and farmers who have lost so much because people have come back to get their land that has been stolen, as you mentioned,
That was
from,
stolen from them,
they are
yes.
descendants of ancestors who had their shit stolen, and they're coming to take it back and not taking no for an answer. And a whole lot of that kind of, support and, olive branch extension is rooted in an attempt to psychologically like burn out, right, the capacity of Americans to really kind of understand or fathom that shit. It's almost like the illustration in the picture in the book, right, of what Project 2025 looks like. It's for us to see, to be pissed off, to be frustrated with, and it's a tactic and technique to show you I have all the power in the world, and what will I do with it? I'm going to protect white people and white lives. I'm going to show you at every move, at every stake, that what the future holds, what it's going to look like, where
is
my,
that is that
you know,
these institutions will
and
protect
my descendants,
whiteness?
you know what I'm saying? Like my legacy and the people who make policy around, after me, the Republican Party, all of it will be invested in making sure we create an oasis that stands up to air quote white genocide and, confronts or creates this white, place of freedom and rest from your duress. And so that shit is fucking calculated. And the last thing I was saying when it was glitching up is I always also believe, and I forget where I got this from, but I was watching some shit that really just kind of is more. I've seen it more than once, where
Yeah.
these are chaos tactics that are a part of authoritarian governing. You know what I'm saying? That are demonstrations of what it looks like. You know what I'm saying? To create the type of society where you create so many medium-sized fires that people can't look away from it and can't ignore them, but also kind of feel invested to attend to them, but don't have the bandwidth and have the capacity to. So you wear people out, right? The goal is to wear the American public thin so that they don't really get excited about much of anything because they can't figure out what the fuck to care about the most. Yeah. You talking about cutting Medicaid and Medicare. You talking about white genocides, but you also are allowing genocides of everybody else, of Palestinians. You're allowing white Chinese people who
not even just allow, facilitating.
Hello?
Yeah.
Right? Like
remember finish the job?
It's literally Chinese people who will lose their livelihoods and ability to thrive and survive based on these tariffs, right? It's literally people in Congo and Sudan and other places around the world who are shit. It's people in Ukraine, like, well, I mean, and that's a complicated conversation about whiteness that right there. But there's a lot of suffering happening that you are allowing to happen, while in the same breath you are willing to, you know what I'm saying, give a pass to these white people, and so it becomes very frustrating, very conflictual. Right, yeah. But it's all agent of chaos shit, because I'm pissed off about this, but I'm also very worried about the lack of regulation in shit like dairy and meat and the shit that I'm about to go buy from the grocery store to feed my family. I'm also very concerned about the fact that regardless of the fact that the price of eggs has gone down, that groceries overall writ large are more expensive, and that like it's just let's not forget we're leading into hurricane season, and you don't have a
while they're cutting FEMA. While they're cutting FEMA.
I think I saw a post the other day that was talking about St. Louis and the earth and the tornadoes. Like day 6 with no government assistance. Nobody has shown up. Nobody has come to help us put our community back together. And so it's a strategy. It's a tactic to wear people down and wear people out so that they experience news and reality overload and don't know what battle to fight first.
Now, and I think I think was especially important to note here is that this is the result of elections, people. This is the result of decisions that were made. And shout out to Keep It Funky in Real Life with the $20 super chat said Trump showing his true colors. And when I said that Donald Trump was the greatest example of white privilege, right? What the purpose of white privilege is to establish white nationalism. It's not just that they have an advantage. It's that they use to create and shape institutions in a way that are fundamentally detrimental to black people. Fundamentally. You know what I'm saying? And so we get to a point where, again, just to also address the question of like what's behind this, it is the active denigration and fear mongering of black people that white nationalists use to maintain themselves. And what I've been telling folk is this is extremely dangerous. Donald Trump talking about white genocide. Again, while an act of genocide is happening, when you have tens of thousands of children who have lost their lives, tens of thousands of children who have lost their lives, you have somebody in the seat that Donald Trump sits in saying white genocide, scaring white folk, when we know that the inevitable result of that is always anti-black gratuitous violence. Yeah. When you read the manifestos of the white boys that shoot up churches and shoot up grocery stores, it's because they looked at they're on websites that are telling them, hey, young white boy, these black people are trying to kill you. Listen, they hate you because you're white. They're gonna kill you because you're white. And now the president
let's be honest too, though. When we talk about killing, I want to kind of come in and punch in here, just because in the same ways black people have recognized that the killing of our community doesn't necessarily happen by bang bang. It doesn't happen by white people burning crosses and hanging us as often. It's still fucking happening, but that's not the only way they're trying to kill us. When you look at the transverse way that white people are talking to themselves and being, quite frankly, delusional about the agendas of black people, it is that they're killing you by taking your resources. They're killing you by, taking your position and your right to leadership and power. Right. They're killing you by infiltrating your neighborhood and taking your position and your scholarships and your, admissions and your jobs and shit. This is the way that they're taking away power from your family to eat. So in their minds, this whole notion of killing you, this thing that, kind of feeds the appetite of like anti-blackness and white supremacy that they have,
Yeah.
right? To eliminate black people and to replace it with the pinnacle of white people and what they want to do in their agendas and their kind of infrastructure. All that shit is based in the rhetoric of killing. That is all what they are talking about when they talk
It's
about
based in death.
why the niggas gotta go.
Yeah, it's based in death. Yeah.
It's all that.
And so this is what I mean when I'm always saying that white supremacy and white nationalism, it's an active process. Right? It has to maintain a fear of blackness. It has to be maintained, right? In order to incentivize the masses of whites to be like to be okay with this type of approach, be okay with these types of policies. Let's not forget the Oklahoma City bomber, one of the worst domestic terror attacks, or if not the worst domestic terrorist attack in the country. Domestic. So like, 9/11 is.
We'll say one of, because shout out to the MOVE organization, and you know what I'm saying. Like the government did that one. So, but carry on.
But the Oklahoma City bomber, a part of his motivation was, protecting the white race, protecting white people, and having to fight that fight. And when you actively have this is the president of the United States. As much as people be like, oh, man, white people, I ain't surprised about this, I ain't surprised about that. I do not care if, like, this is what you, quote, unquote, expect from white people in power. Mm-hmm. Allowing it to happen is to our detriment. Period. Absolutely. Like this, the president of the United States, like, literally whining and complaining about white people being murdered in South Africa because I have to say it plainly, has the potential to inspire the next anti-black shooting, anti-black massacre. We shouldn't parse words about this. Yeah. This is what inspires them to go out and shoot us. This is this type of rhetoric, the death of white people, right? So I feel like as much as people talked about how Donald Trump was debunked, or how that information was debunked, if we look at the entire interaction, we'll literally see a production that was put on, right? They dimmed the lights in the Oval Office. They played a video montage featuring images of white crosses and farmsteads. And this was specifically intended to invoke victimhood, right? They had white body bags lined up. And Trump claimed that these was murdered South Africans. But as journalists quickly identified that it was footage from the Democratic Republic of Congo, where civilians were killed in rebel conflict earlier that year. Rebel conflict that, in part, is made responsible by the United States.
Let me also be clear that the DRC is like 2,000 miles away from South Africa or some shit, like some ridiculous.
Not even close.
So there's no overlap. No potential.
Not even close.
This is not the same people. This is just fucking bullshit.
Not the same people at all. Like, this is blatant misinformation, specifically only used to stoke fear in white people. My question to you, Toya, is there any other way that this can be interpreted? Right? Is the danger that, because I can be told that I'm a little bit hyperbolic. I've been called dramatic at times. And especially when they be talking about Trump derangement syndrome and all this other shit. So is my characterization of what Trump doing, and specifically the claim that I'm making, is that this rhetoric, these types of productions, is what inspires white people to shoot up black areas, black communities? Is it really that dangerous, or am I being hyperbolic? If we're being fair.
I think in a world, and I think we talked about this in a different way a while ago in a different context, but I want to bring it back to the forefront of our minds, and that is the white replacement theory, right? I think that's the name of it. The Great Replacement Theory, is that what it is? Where white people have this impending anxiety about their elimination, right? A lot of it is rooted in the diversity that exists in this country, in the ways that, Black people are race mixing with white people, that race is becoming a whole lot more ambiguous. I think the reality of it is it's going to be less white people in by 2050, I think, or some kind of projection in the
Right.
United States because of just sheer populations of others, the Latina population, the Black population, other people's populations, mixed people. Like they're just going to be less white people, right? So there's a lot of anxiety there, and I think when you juxtapose shit like this with and they killing y'all, which is eliminating white people faster, these motherfuckers are like, oh hell no, you know what I'm saying? So when you talk about the ways that it could potentially elevate and kind of enhance the violence that we're already seeing, I don't think it's that far fetched because there's already the anxiety in there that it's not enough white people.
Yeah.
It's already the frustration. And so what happens when you press the meter on that? What happens when you now create a narrative or create the language and a reality for them to walk around talking about white genocides? You know what I'm saying? It's already too much of them. It's too already, we gotta, you know what I'm saying? Our race is shrinking, this, that, and the other. And now it's a white genocide going on. You're giving people the buzzwords and the language to go out, right? And to then, I'm telling you, like, this is how you really do get systemic and structural shifts. This is how you get like the type of negative countercultures that, you know what I'm saying, like that create white extremists, right?
Yeah.
This is how you get white terrorism, is that you have quick and easy phrases like white genocide that say so much by saying so little,
So
don't
yeah.
take a lot of thinking, and
Yeah.
then allow for it to be workshopped in groups where people are already looking for a reason to pop off and be fucking weird. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
when you talk about its potential, I don't think that that's hyperbolic at all. I think it is a reality because it's how the anxiety of white people work.
Now, and I think that when we look at things historically, specifically, like one of the main kind of genocide conversations that take place, like what we saw with the Holocaust, you saw there was let me make sure we still straight. Yeah, you saw that like with Hitler, and what made the Holocaust possible was the acceptance of what Hitler was doing due to how he was able to stoke fears about the Jews. So you can do whatever you want to these people that's trying to hurt us. It's justified. Yeah, hey, whatever go down, whatever happens, right? Like, so we position ourselves like right now with this, like after this past election, like when we think about the conversations that we had previously, like right now we positioned ourselves where the people who are willing to do the most harm to us now have their voice in one of the places where it could be extended to the most amount of people. Right, because there's a different level of legitimacy that happens when you're having this type of rhetoric in a message board with just a bunch of white supremacists, and then you having it from the Oval Office, you know what I'm saying, or the
It's
East Room or whatever the whatever room they was in, where that was taking place.
Pennsylvania Avenue from
Yeah,
from over there. When it comes from over there, it hits different. You know what
it's
I'm saying?
something.
And then you have the Trump truthers who think that he and feel like nothing that he can say could ever be challenged, and what he says, it is what it is. And if he's calling that, that's what I, you know what I'm saying? It's the same way Christians is like, he said it and I believe it, right? It's the same kind of relationship they got with what Trump said. And so there's no repackaging that. There's no explanation needed. You said what? I know what white is, and I'm happy to be it and proud of it. And nothing you can tell me about it. I know what genocide means. You trying to take that away from me? You trying to kill us and exterminate us? It's funny that you know what a fucking genocide means when it's about you, but you are completely unfamiliar with that context and concept when it comes to other people. But yeah, a light switches, and it's not one that they're happy to see and experience at all.
I mean, it's crazy. It's you hit the nail right on the head, because what he's pushing is, and him and Elon Musk has been trying to push this too, is a reverse apartheid narrative where white people have been recast as the oppressed minority, right? And it's black people it's reverse racism. But again, now that, because we're talking about South Africa, reverse apartheid, complete myth, not real. And specifically as they deny and ignore the reality of violence that black people in America and black people in other parts of Africa have to deal with because of Europeans. Specifically, I mean, we live in a country right now where Donald Trump has actively undermined literally every Justice Department investigation into messed up police departments. Every attempt to clean up just messed up police departments, Donald Trump has told them to put a halt to it. For what? What reason? Why would you disable and undermine efforts to make policing better?
And I'm gonna tell you what pisses me off so bad, because we can't like gatekeep language, right? We can't kind of keep like shit that we've created in terms of art that we've created for ourselves, when we start to use it and circulate it in order to create some type of collective vocabulary for each other, it then becomes consumable, right? It becomes commodifiable. It means it can be taken and hijacked and used for shit that it wasn't intended for. So whereas terms like genocides, terms like apartheid are used to describe a particular imbalance of power, the relational capacity of power structures, and individuals who can make decisions to, for example, decide who lives and dies, or right, to separate and take away and reorient resources. That language is used in a very particular way. And Emmanuel points out kind of the dehumanization of people, and it's very fucked that these people are able to take language and, like I said, terms of art that are used to describe very particular experiences and use it to redeploy it in that process of dehumanizing people, right? Like, you have no right to be able to even use the word genocide. Pick another fucking word for what you think white people are going through down there, because that's not a fucking genocide. Like, it kind of is definitionally, but you should not be able to use that, considering you are in the apex position of power, and the power is being used to manipulate, to destroy, to kill, to dehumanize other people. You shouldn't be able to call the shit an apartheid. You should have to come up with another fucking intelligent word to describe what you're trying to say, because this shit is not a fucking apartheid, bro, because you are the one in power. You are the one who are extending the abilities, the capabilities, and the functionalities of white people and the white supremacist agendas that they have. And so, like, I think that's what burns me up, is that you hear this language, you hear these words that have been so attached to and used to define and explain and give us a way to define and explain our experiences, but then you got motherfuckers misusing it in the ways that they're trying to deploy it so that they have the same, what is the word, affective impact. You want it to hit the same. It didn't hit for you. It didn't resonate. Genocide don't resonate for you. That's what I was saying when we were saying it before. When we was talking about indigenous people, when we talking about motherfucking Palestinians, when we talking about all these other people, genocide, killing or wiping out of an entire group of people just didn't have the same flair. But now that you want to use it, people are supposed to perk up and pay attention and think some serious shit going on. When it was happening and you know, when it's happening in our communities in terms of the food that black people and brown people have access to, when we're talking about food apartheids and the ways that you have literally created separations and fissures in the way that people find and get access to life source, you don't know what the fuck that is. You know what I'm saying? Nelson Mandela was in the trenches doing all types of dynamic things for his people, and you was just like, you know, but now there's an apartheid in South Africa. There's a reverse apartheid. Now we supposed to perk up and pay the fuck attention. And that's where I get so frustrated with the way that grammars of suffering, grammars of reality, right? The academic components or ways that we've come to finally understand what the fuck is happening to us. Like, finally get it and put it together. And now you just want to take it and run with it and use it on some old bullshit. You got the power. You don't get to do that. Come up with your own words.
But I feel like it's at this point we're at that place where that's where language becomes so important, because we're at the place where there has been an attempt to repackage everything that is used to understand how whiteness specifically has shaped other people's experiences. You know what I mean? And so when of course, when we're talking about a genocide that's happening in Gaza, of course you want to flip it to reverse genocide or no, genocide to white people. And so when we're talking about this racism, of course you want to flip it to reverse racism. Look at what's happening to white people, right? And what's crazy is that you're doing that in the middle of like being as anti-immigration as you can be and standing on it. So you're really doing more to display your own hypocrisy than I mean, when I say doing more to display that, I'm talking about in terms of proving a point. But if the goal is literally just to spark white fears, then you're accomplishing that spectacularly. Right? And people need to recognize that. Niggas need to be on alert. This is not a time to be sitting around thinking like, this is just white people shit. This is not, because this is how white people shit roll into nigga shit. Specifically, you know what I mean? And so y'all let us know how the stream is doing. I'm seeing yeah, I'm getting notifications. So y'all let us know how the stream is getting looking for y'all. But getting into the last question, that I have is, when we look at this type of interaction, what should be the response in terms of whether we talking our response, like literally like our response as like black voters, black taxpayers, you know what I mean? Like or what? Wait, in what ways do we make this a part of like our focus going into 2026? Because it's like when there's such a fervor of whiteness, an emboldeningness of whiteness that historically has been shown to be extremely violent. How do we strategize against them, those types of things in 2026?
Shout out to a little Indian pigeon Feather Bay. What's poppin', family? Great to have you in here. How do we respond? I don't know. I feel like the new energy, which is supposed to be allegedly like this every year, and then blue waves happen and don't happen. And by the way, too, shout out to Emmanuel for letting us know about the stream, and Danielle for letting us know about the stream. Thank y'all. I feel like niggas is about to be on some blue, no matter who. Did you laugh at me?
I did. No, I did. No, because okay, go ahead.
What you say? Say what you about to say. What do you need?
Well, no, because I think that the problem is the reason why we get caught in that pendulum is with the like. Is it what else in what other capacity? Like what else? What other logic do you operate from?
Yeah, like you do kind of this because this is just adding to the list of this shit is out of control. Like this is unacceptable. Yeah. And so I think it makes the decision, like in terms of what do we do and how do we act, we get these motherfuckers out of there, and we hope we live to tell the tale to be able to do such a thing. But that's pretty much all you can do. Like, here's what I fear saying this is that this next election is only going to go one of two ways. Either we're going to see such an erosion and a continued erosion. I don't want to act like it's new, a continued decline in political participation like we've never seen before because people are too just worn out, exhausted, done with this whole charade, right? Because let's not forget, it's a whole separate narrative that we haven't gotten into with Joe Biden, then an aptitude of Democrats, them putting him back up there to run anyway, the way that they are just fucking clueless and a failure. We obviously know there won't be any third parties popping in anytime soon. So that's already part of it. So either, I say all that to say, people are going to be completely politically apathetic and not vote for shit, and this is going to continue. Or you're going to see a pushback and a response and a frustration and a rising to the occasion that I also think will be monumental in something like we've never seen before.
That I tell you, right? But here's the thing. Our only choice is to rise to the occasion. That's all we can do right now. So let me say it now. Let me get it on the record now. Because, anything you put on the internet, it lasts forever. So I'm saying it right now. Can we not wait until, we in 2020, we in 2028 or 2027, and niggas is like, well, who I'm supposed to vote for? Let's talk about that now. Let's have that conversation now.
I think that needs to be somebody's campaign slogan. I don't even think it needs to be a campaign slogan. It needs to be like the motto for voting. No love letters.
No love letters.
You know what I mean, right?
No, I do not. I was going to ask you.
Okay, no love letters. Your ballot is not a fucking love letter to a candidate, for a candidate. It is not an expression of infatuation. It is not a message that they're going to get personally to make them feel warm and fuzzy when they get up and figure out whether they won or lost. It don't fucking work like that. You're not like falling in love with a nigga or, you know what I'm saying, proclaiming, just a deep desire for their leadership and greatness. You're trying to fix a reality and set a trajectory for what we need to do to piece any of this shit together, because we about to have ashes. The way I look at the political infrastructure for the next president that has to come in is I look at it like a cartoon battle or like a big Power Rangers, depends on whatever generation you want to put yourself in, and like the destruction of the city that is left behind, these big battles that is had. Yeah. There is pieces of shit, like it's just crumbled. It's done.
Yeah.
The next person, the next few presidencies, it's gonna take generations. You know what I'm saying? To piece this basic regular shit back together again. Not to mention we ain't seen nothing yet. The nigga just got there in January. It is May of the first year.
And this is what I'm saying. And we see how bad the shit is now. Right? We're seeing, and I know there are folks out there that's like, well, it's only the first year. You got to let this happen. No, things are getting objectively worse as time goes by. We're like literally this shit with Ramaphosa, like this is not something to be taken lightly. This is an
Yeah.
example of deterioration of the diplomatic process. This is an example of the institutionalization of misinformation and propaganda, not to be played with. So
And one of so many
again,
examples.
we're seeing that things are going to get worse before it gets better. So knowing that this is not the direction we want to move to, whether it's in the midterms or whether it's in 2028, the conversation needs to start now. Who are you willing to vote for now? Because
Listen,
you
but
can't
here's the
tell me that
thing.
that you're willing to vote for some shit like this again. Somebody that, and he not. I mean, I don't think he's gonna be running again. But in terms of just anybody trying to run behind him, because they're gonna try to use in whoever's the next president. If Donald Trump makes it all 4 years, whoever's the next Republican candidate is gonna try to still like run off of that type of energy. They're gonna try to beat Trump 2.0 if Trump makes it 4 years. So I don't like, we have to be prepared to say I'm not letting that happen. Better safe than sorry. I'd rather create some preparations for some shit that doesn't take place and not have to use it than think that this shit can't get no worse than Trump, and then we slowly watch it begin to deteriorate.
I mean, I think a couple of things as you say, talk about this, and I want to shout out GA, shout out Devastating. Emmanuel said,
Shout out to
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm envisioning in my mind. Excuse me, in terms of what this shit is about to look like. But you know, you like, we got to do this and we got to do that, and I think it is important to talk about the we, right? Because it's a lot of people who let us down. It's a lot of people who didn't show the fuck up. And so Emmanuel says, I don't know who could be politically apathetic after all this bullshit. And I do. It's the motherfuckers who didn't show up. It's the mysterious ballots that disappeared between Biden and Kamala Harris. That's how you can see the political apathy. When we still talking, I still believe Starlink fucked some shit up and lost some of them ballots, but I also do believe that people didn't show up to the ballot box to put nothing in it in the first place. And that's who gotta show up and do something with yourself. Do the obvious thing, right? On top of the people who we are working through our distrust with, i.e. the Latinx population, i.e. men, i.e. white women.
Shit, right? The Muslim population. The Muslim population.
The Muslim population.
Yes. Like, let's not forget that that black people was like, we not fucking with y'all. And that created controversy. That created people being like, oh, well, you know, we always cared about racism. But when we sit back and look at this election, there was everything else mattered more than the proliferation of white nationalism.
Bruh.
And stopping the proliferation of white nationalism. Everything else mattered more. Right? Like whether it was Latino men, right? Whether it was white women.
You probably told me to make sure I didn't leave out the Asians.
Right? Like and the pro-Palestinian crowd who had no idea they was gonna be ops.
Come on.
Niggas had no idea that they was gonna be ops.
It shouldn't be that hard. We are dealing. It shouldn't be that hard. Like, again, no love letters. No love letters. You don't have to love everything. You don't have to be infatuated with everything. I was still looking at a comment section the other day that was talking about Kamala Harris not being black. And I was just like, black people, let it go. Let it go. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? When it really, really comes down to it. Like,
did not fucking matter.
Okay, you got it.
And that's one of the things I'm not letting black people. I'm not letting us get away with this. I'm not letting us get away with the fact that we knew who Donald Trump was and we still cared more about parsing through Kamala's black. Because look, would Kamala Harris be spreading white nationalist conspiracy theories from the Oval Office? At a bare minimum.
Nigga, would she be doing a lot of shit this nigga's doing? Like,
I'm just saying, just in the context of what we're talking about right now.
I'm talking about, like, environmental racism. We just had a conversation about that a couple days ago. I listened to a podcast that it's called Self-Care School by Girl Trek. It's two black women who are trying to extend the life expectancy of black women and black people in general in 10 years, by 10 years. And the huge way that they tackle that is by getting Black people moving. So it's like these 30-minute podcasts that I listen to. And Shorty was talking about the ways that she, when I listen to it while I'm on my walks in my neighborhood, while I'm walking my dog, so I'm constantly staying moving, right? Getting my steps in. So she starts to describe how she went to get a lot of the statistical data and information that the USFG has created, the federal government, for research that they have provided on these websites, on government websites, about environmental pollution, about certain areas, about different studies, about different numbers and figures and shit like that. That shit is gone, fool. It's gone. Like, we literally, they want us to be dumb, broke, assed out, excluded. You know what I'm saying? And it's niggas who having it, who bet, who have like some weird investment into that shit. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's the type of gaps. Those are the types of things we need to fucking care about, fool. They don't want you to exist to survive. You on bullshit.
Nah, I think this is it, as we wrap up this part of the conversation, because we still talking about Trump today, but to get to the next part, because I think a lot of this would be more relevant for that too, when we start talking about Donald Trump's war chest. But I think what they're doing is they're flouting corruption and racism and bigotry and standing on it. Because one of the key parts of the conversation with Ramaphosa and Trump was somebody had made a reporter had asked Trump about a private jet that he was gifted from Qatar. Had nothing to do with the meeting, right? But they asked him about it, and Trump, of course, went off, flipped out on the reporter. And Ramaphosa made the joke, I'm sorry I didn't have a plane for you. He said, I'm sorry I didn't have a plane to give you. Donald Trump responds with, I wish you did. I wish you did. And then went back to making up the bullshit and lying about what's happening with white people and all this in South Africa and all this other shit. And so I think my final thoughts on that meeting was what makes Donald Trump dangerous isn't that he's willing to go out and shoot people, or he's willing to be violent, right? Make sure the stream is straight. He's willing to be violent. The people who are willing to be violent vote for Donald Trump. The people who are willing to go out there and take Black lives vote for Donald Trump. And to validate Donald Trump is to validate them. No ifs, ands, buts about it. To validate Donald Trump is to validate the violence that occurs when white people feel like their existence is being threatened.
1000%.
So, with that being said, Toya, we can transition to the next part of the conversation and discuss all of this money that Donald Trump been putting together.
All right. So if you haven't heard, I want to make sure you're on standby so that you are not persuaded by or moved by, which I don't think the people listening here are, but some might be, Trump's tactics and techniques. More specifically, it is reported, I believe he released a report that talked about kind of like a war chest that he's been building over time. Upon being added to the government, he launched the meme coin. If y'all don't know, Trump got sneakers and shoes and colognes and memorabilia and all this shit, and however else he makes his money, legally and illegally. And ultimately, he has up to like $6 million at this point of like what he's calling a war chest, right? The amount of money that he has and that he intentionally is attempting to accumulate to back candidates in 2026 as well as 2028. So money that he really wants to spend to give some momentum to these campaigns. Now, to be clear, he has no intent at stopping at 600 million. He's trying to go to the full $1 billion, and it's looking like he's probably going to get there and then some, right? So we know that Donald Trump is now politically strategizing to be ready for pretty much anything. I am not going to take off the table. And you can talk about the Supreme Court and the Constitution all you want to. I'm not going to take off the table this nigga's intent to run for a third term as well. So I think a lot of that money is going to be for him to do some weird shit. Dominique, disagrees, but these federal judges are making decisions, and some of them sticking, and then they saying shit, and some of it's not. All I'm saying is it's weird times, and we seeing crazy shit. The Alien Act being invoked, all types of things with the Constitution are being
which was shot down.
Huh?
The invocation of the
Listen, here's my point. Not even that he'll be successful, but this shit costs money. Right? These things that he's going to do or try to do or to press the issue, you need money to do that shit.
He's at least getting the bread to do it. Yeah, he's at least getting the bread to do it.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. For master moves being made. And so, of course, that leads us to need to be kind of concerned, or at least to reflect on some of the strategery that's happening both in front of and behind the curtain. So my first question is very simply, should we be as concerned with this type of campaign strategizing as we are about PACs? Now, we know that political action committees, or PACs, are used, which are corporations, by the way, who are able to influence our elections. We know all types of corporations have been participating in the election or campaign processes, even minus the attempts to stop them and shut them down. And they've been highly influential, right? The only reason we drink fucking cow's milk is that the dairy association was like, tell them to fuck it up. And the government was like, okay, we love that. Make sure you send your money. Make sure you send your check. There are 1,000 other examples that we have with PACs being able to influence the process. Should standing presidents be able to take money and accumulate massive amounts of money and resources to throw them into the campaign system, right, to further their political agendas? Maybe it already happens, but he's just being super brazen about it. But is this as big of a threat? How concerned are we? Like, what does this connect? In what ways does this kind of speak to or fuel the fire of like the vulnerability of elections because of money? What do you think?
Nah, I mean, I think it's an example of how lucrative. I think it's an example of how lucrative corruption is, and how you have the people who control resources, the people who control, everything essentially. How they are, putting all their money and all their resources behind somebody who is just like blatantly detrimental to just normal people, and so it's a scary.
Up again too. I see that banner, and then I feel like when I'm looking at the video, it's a little bit glitchy.
Yeah.
Y'all let us know. Give us another status update real quick. My bad, plug. I didn't mean to cut you off. Nicole, by the way, was like, he did say he wasn't doing a third term. I don't believe nothing that come out that man's mouth from one moment to the next. He's a liar. He's a swindler. He is weird. So yeah, I don't believe none of that shit. And then J Universe, we've been on for a minute, about 40 minutes, maybe even 50, low key, because we had to stop the live and come back. So we just glad you popped in here at any time. But my bad, plug. Go back to what you was talking about. I guess we okay.
Yeah, we but yeah, there is a more of an investment in fascism. Like, think about it. Like, you can raise $600 million, or Donald Trump could amass that much money. Think about what $600 million could do in impoverished communities.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think about what $600 million could do for food insecurity and housing insecurity in the United States today.
Yeah.
And it's like, but yet, again, the people who amass these resources will rather use those funds to install people in power who are willing to keep the people who, like the workforce, right? The laborers that's being exploited, to keep them making barely, quote unquote, a livable wage, right? Like, that's why I say the crazy thing about racism is that, you have white people who are willing to look at Latinos and willing to look at black people, and black people who are willing to look at Latinos and willing to look at black people, and Latinos that's willing to look at Latinos and willing to look at black people as the reason why they don't make as much money as they should, as the reason why they're losing their pensions and they're losing their retirement. When the reality is that the reason why people the reason why you are losing these things that back in the past, like people had shit like pensions and all of that. They got rid of that so they could get record salaries and record profit. They got rid of those things for them to benefit themselves, and yet we still glamorize and we still valorize and deify billionaires and the people who amass gross amounts of resources and wealth as we watch them hoard it while people starve. Like while people, like you hear about like the woman that died, her and her family was in the was sleeping in the car. And they died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Yeah. Like that, like the fact that like this is a reality in a country that has this type of money to give just for somebody who's already wealthy and powerful, for them to have more money. Like that's baffling to me. Yeah. And like the way it's like getting people to recognize that it's like the argument that there's no such thing as an ethical billionaire. People don't want, like, people ignore, one, what it takes to amass that much wealth, and two, what it means for society for a small group of people to control that much wealth and resources.
Yeah. Right. And I will never stop the moment like you. I will always take advantage of the opportunity to tell people to research the difference between 1 million and 1 billion, because the gap is humongous. Right. Like the gap between 100,000 and 1 million is like fathomable in some ways. Like it's like big as shit, but it's like, okay, I can imagine that. You will be gobsmacked to start to see how many other kind of exponential flips and changes it takes to get to 1 billion. That's a whole different stratosphere. Like when I think about, you know what I'm saying? Like the amount of money made in a day by people like Jeff Bezos, right? And like how he gets to 1 billion so quickly, or is able to have it multiple times over, is because he's accumulating so many millions per minute, per hour, per whatever, and is able to flip that money up. So I only say that to say, when you think about billionaires and how much money, like it's a lot of murky shit in between that million and that billion. Okay, it's a lot of really weird shit happening, not ethical shit happening, very questionable things happening between that million and that billion, and that's where they lose me for sure.
Nah, and because then the question becomes, well, I'm not trying to. You can go ahead and get to the next question, because I don't want to jump ahead, because I got a few thoughts.
Real, you don't build that kind of wealth without screwing people over. It just don't come like that. My next question, though, because we are kind of, we've been talking for a bit, and I want to make sure we touch some things, is, and this is for you, Plug. This is where I want you to put your political plug hat on and just kind of educate a little bit. But then it's a 2-part question, so I'm going to throw the part B in there, too. First, how are campaign funds typically spent to give candidates an edge in elections? Like, if you could just kind of explain like where the money goes and how money can be strategically used to like price somebody out of elections, I think that'd be useful to like understand what his end game is. And then second, I'm gonna ask my part B in a second. But answer that question. Like, how are campaign funds used to like basically wash out or to overcome individuals or other candidates?
So pretty much, campaigning costs money. You have staff you have to pay. You have trips to take. That means you got to pay for transportation, right? You have to pay for venues. You have to pay for ad spots, right? Like so literally the campaign money goes towards putting you out there. Right, you can travel more spots, you can organize more. The more bread you got, the more resources you have to get you in front of the people. Period. So and not just you, but your message, right? You could pay people that's stumping for you. You got to pay people that's going door to door. You got to pay people that's, doing the polling. You got to pay the people that's or you got to pay for hotel rooms. You got to, So really, like the ability to move around
pay people for their endorsements, even though you probably swear you don't do that type of thing. I imagine you got to make sure to pay some people. Just put my name in your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like, slide me in that conversation. You about to have this interview coming up. Make sure you mention me. I'd imagine that's a part of the process too. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So you got to pay vendors. You know what I mean? You got to pay video people. You got to pay audio people. You got to pay stage setup people. You know what I mean? Like it all goes to the business of putting myself out there. You know what I mean? Like that's where all that bread go to. So it's like
Yeah,
the more
difference
bread,
between your ad probably playing at like 11 o'clock in the morning versus playing depending on what medium we're talking about at 5 at 10 at whatever what spots you can probably how many of these certain spots you can pay for how long certain amount of months certain amount
right?
of
Exactly.
okay
So like
yeah
the more you spend, the more people see your ads, right? Like so it's really you pay for visibility and everything that goes into making you more visible.
got you. Well then okay, understanding that right and knowing that visibility is a huge component of campaigning, right? Like people not even really overly invested in if you can actually do what you're saying you're gonna do. As long as you got a message that resonates with people, it's what they want, it's what they want to hear, and they
Yeah.
can see you and you visible, then you got a recipe for success. My question is that gonna matter this time? Is that gonna be fucking relevant this time? Like immigration, food, budget cuts, all these jobs and layoffs and firings that's been done by those, the economy in general, the tariffs, and the fact that these 90 days finna wear off, and people saying the shit. I mean, we keep getting the can kicked down the road with a whole bunch of shit. You got these natural disasters coming. They saying that this hurricane season finna be not quite as bad as last year, but still up there in a lot of different ways. And even one life is lost, right? Because of the infrastructure is not capable of protecting these people. We already in tornado season, right? It's a lot of shit going down in the world around us. And this kind of dovetails with what we were talking about in the last segment about what people gonna do. But do you really feel like that'll matter this time? Or do you feel like the Republican Party has kind of shot themselves in the foot so much so that people will be able to kind of not pay attention to the money being thrown at the situation?
No, I think I don't think it's gonna matter. I think that um people are like the people who are at the top like that's giving Donald Trump all this money. They trying to get it while it's good.
Mm-hmm.
They trying to get it while it's good. So whatever they can to keep him happy. Especially a large part of the thing is like people feel like they could pay for access. Like so while he's here, hey, if I'm giving up this bread, because he's trying to get $1 billion, right? He's trying to get $1 billion, and it's like what do you think is involved in campaigning to where you trying to amass that much money? Because
Yeah.
Donald Trump not known to be the generous type. Like the idea that you can just expect that he's gonna start just paying for a bunch of down ballot races and putting money in people's pocket like that. I mean, it's possible if you wanted to greater Trump kiss asses, but I think even Republicans are recognizing that going into midterms, that's not gonna be enough. People are not happy.
I mean, I think Republicans are also about to come run into like some tricky shit, right? If and stay with me with this logic, I feel like you can't shut down town halls when shit is thick, when you don't want to talk about shit, when we mad at you, when we trying to hold your feet to the fire, when we want you to do your fucking job and tap in. You can't shut down the town halls because you don't like how they going and then expect to have them when you want us to listen to why you're going to be a great candidate for the next election cycle. Like, nigga, you going to hear me. You going to feel me. So it's like really weird to understand the campaign strategy in terms of some of the classic things that candidates do to sit down with their constituents, because you shut us up a couple months ago, remember? So now I hope you didn't think you was finna hold this town hall and start telling me about what your plans are. No, bitch, nigga, let's talk about some of the shit that you had popping off in here that you didn't want to hear about a year ago. Let's go ahead and start with the block on some of that. It's a lot of shit that you wasn't trying to confront and grapple with. And now that you got this and you want our vote, let's go ahead and sew that up. And so I think for a lot of people, especially because it's been so many Republicans without backbones, worse things happening, worse, you know what I'm saying? They're going to have a whole lot to answer for. Like, how do you even, who are you sending? You know what I'm saying? Like, because your own people not fucking with you, bro.
And I think Donald Trump has just been more detrimental than he was in his first term. I think the benefit that Donald Trump had in his first term is that niggas was getting in his way with the Russia shit and this investigation and that investigation. This time, he didn't have any obstacles and he was able to do his plan, right? He was able to do what he wanted to do, and the American people are suffering from it in one of the shortest time frames historically known to man. Like you come into your presidency with a great market, and when in 100 days you've destroyed it, right? Like that's unprecedented. And people felt that. People lost farms. People lost their retirement. Things that they invested in, they lost a lot of money because Donald Trump doesn't fully understand tariffs.
You don't have the trust of my immigrants at all. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like it's a lot of immigrants.
Right.
It's another immigrant that just got, held up and jammed up by ICE. They end up letting them go. But the nigga went as far as having a real ID. By the way, he's an American citizen. He just happens to not speak a whole lot of English. He's down in Alabama. You know what I'm saying? Mexican, don't speak a whole lot of English. Full American citizen, got a real ID. He got more valid identification than I got.
You ain't got a real ID.
As a person's born in I still ain't got no fucking real ID.
You better not try to fly. You got your passport though. You straight.
Yeah, I got my passport, but like he more legit than I am for all intents and purposes, and y'all harassing his ass. So it's whole immigrants that's not going back to them fields. They done already, you know what I'm saying, hit a jug and found a different way, but we are missing whole sectors. Right, like that's irreversible damage that you've done to people's economies and the way that they work. These people gonna remember.
I think, but that's why I don't think that they're gonna be able to just buy their way in the 2026 midterms. Especially, I mean, because I don't like what they've done, like you said, has been so detrimental that niggas is still gonna be picking up the pieces in 2026. Right, people are still going to be suffering the repercussions of whether they lost their job, whether they lost their farm, whether they lost their retirement. Right, these are things that are going to linger. Then on top of the fact that
they lost
not only
their paychecks to fucking student loan wage garnishments.
Right. So on top of the fact that the policies themselves, as they remain in place, are going to continue to be detrimental. Right, it's like he's the amount of people that's been laid off in key areas, like even this big beautiful bill that they call it that they trying to pass right now, like they're completely getting rid of subsidized student loans for like master's degrees and PhDs and all of that, like the student plus loan or the grad plus loan or something like that. They completely getting rid of it, right? Like, which is literally laying the groundwork for more predatory student loan private, you know what I'm saying, institutions. Right, this is going to piss. This is further pissing people off. Right, when people lose their Medicaid,
people not going to take those loans because we're not in an economy that would encourage you to seek out some loans right now, which is then going to come at the expense of these educational programs and these institutions to decelerate education. It's all a part of a master systemic and very structural, tactical move to really take down that pillar of our society.
Right, so we're going to continue to see, like I said, things are going to get worse before they get better, and they're going to get worse on into the next year. Because like, I think we almost halfway through 2025 right now.
Yeah.
Right, like we're almost halfway through there before we about to get to the next midterms. So I don't see how you can just create enough ads that's going to be able to get past the impact that people have literally felt, like real life felt, and having you as a president and people that run behind you. People I don't see it happening.
That is true, but I will say, I feel like I even said this last episode, so I won't even consider it a bad thing that I'm repeating myself. Not Donald Trump. It's still not going to be enough to persuade these niggas because they tried that before and it didn't work with Kamala Harris, Kamala with Biden, but it was a lot of buyer's remorse with that. Like Democrats,
but it did work before. It worked before.
It did, but it didn't work the second time. So it didn't work one time, it didn't work another time. So we still need to figure out if that's the best strategy. Let me rephrase that. They need to figure out if that's the best strategy moving forward. Because even though it won't be Donald Trump, it'll be Donald Trump light, like you said, Donald Trump 2.0, Donald Trump the extended version. And so it won't be enough to say, at least it's not that guy or that person. Mm-hmm. They need to have a viable candidate and a gauntlet of candidates that people can really, with good conscience, sift through and make decisions about, as opposed to this is what we got for you, take it or leave it. This is who we think is going to be able to kind of beat them. Democrats need to have a better political strategy than one candidate or against like not having the best possible slate of candidates available for people to choose from, because people not finna just be like, oh, fuck that. That's where you're gonna get the apathy from. They're not necessarily gonna jump at the chance to vote for the Republican candidate, but they're gonna end up staying home and you're gonna lose because of it. Right. You recall, Plug, because me and you had fights about this. I literally called the fact that Democrats would not be able to get enough people to overcome the fired up enough people, because there was a lot of Republicans sick of Donald Trump, over it, past it, disgusted by it, but he just needed enough. motherfuckers who was into invested and stupid enough to fall for it again. And all Democrats had to do was provoke enough people to overcome the loyalists that the Trump administration had, or that Trump had. And that wasn't possible. So it's not a whole lot of people finna spin the block for this man. The question is, can you get enough people to jump over that little bitty hoop
for that to matter? Yeah.
And for that to matter.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I will real quickly get into this last question, and then we'll go ahead and push. Act Blue, which is the largest political campaign funder for Democrats, is under attack. I don't know that they would be a PAC as much as they're like a connection of donors who largely supply the Democratic candidates that are in this country that run from time to time. So it's a lot more decentralized than what Trump is trying to do with this war chest, and more a collection of donors, American donors who are contributing, right? But they are under attack because the Trump administration believes that their donations have been coming from foreign sources. Couple things. One, that Act Blue's donations have been coming from foreign sources. Two, that they've been able to facilitate this through like some type of gift card program that is a part of that infrastructure that has allowed for money to be siphoned in from those sources. And three, there's a lot of skepticism and frustration with Beyonce, Oprah, and a whole bunch of other celebrities who supported the Kamala Harris campaign, and their suspicion that they had been paid for their endorsements and things like that, which kind of strengthens this question and the skepticism of where they got paid from. Well, the money probably came from Act Blue, right? This is this whole kind of logic that they're using to attack it. My question is, with these new, because Act Blue is being investigated, right? And the risk is that it could be completely dismantled to the point where now there is a lack of kind of a central structure to fund Democratic campaigns, which, as you described just a minute ago, sets them back, right? You need money to be able to push. And so you want that to stay together. My question is, and to everybody, what do you make of this juxtaposition, right? Like on one hand, you have this big ass war chest, 600 million and growing. On another hand, you have a clear attempt to kind of, wipe Act Blue out. How should we look at the relationship between these two things?
I think it is a deliberate attempt to it is a weaponization of government. The shit that they was complaining about, the shit that they was crying about. Mm-hmm. Like they're clearly weaponizing government. They're selling access and then weaponizing government to undermine the fundraising efforts of their political enemies. There's no other way to look at it. I mean, Donald Trump is willing to play dirty and do all the things that he accused Democrats of doing. And I mean, the smart people were saying for years that all Trump ever did was project the type of corruption and swamp-based behavior that he was responsible for. And what we see when he is given the ability to do it, he'll do it. When like all of those weaponization of government hearings that they did, they only did them because that's the type of shit they own, right? Mm-hmm. And so with what's happening with Act Blue and these investigations into, because like how your investigation Act Blue for foreign donations, but you're taking private jets from foreign entities.
Oh, you selling U.S. citizenship for $5 million and telling motherfuckers they can come on in and pull right on up and walk on in. If you got $5 million, we'll just give you a gold card or some shit, and then you can be in. Like, what do you mean?
Right. I mean, you're selling access through cryptocurrency.
Come on.
Right. Like if you get a certain amount of a Trump crypto coin, like a Trump coin, whatever it is, you can go to a dinner where Donald Trump will talk to you. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's really just we're seeing all the things that they whined and complained about that Democrats were doing while Joe Biden was in office. They were really just biding their time until they could execute those plans. While Democrats was I'm not saying that they should play dirty, but they definitely wasn't even nowhere near focused on, undermining the Trump campaign and the Trump presidency the way that Biden's opposition was.
Shit like this makes them, again, to me, look like dysfunctional, money-hungry liberals whose only investment is in, like, I don't know. Because, like, bro, you just have not a strategic bone in your body. Like, part of me from a objective perspective is like, damn, that's cold. Like, you going to cut off the faucet from them over here, and then you going to drown, money, pour money, slather these campaigns. So, like, that is just from an objective perspective, like, ingenious. right? And so I'm just like, damn, y'all don't do nothing like that.
Another word for that
Like
is
y'all so
corrupt. Another
caught
word for
up
that is
in it.
corrupt. I said another word for that is
Yeah,
corrupt.
it's fucked, but it's
Mhm.
smart as hell, right? And so like I wouldn't want to exist in a world where both the Republican and Democratic Party was on like some of this very insidious fucked up shit. But I'm just saying, like, did you pinch the bitch? Like, get in there and do something politically savvy and strategic, something
Yeah.
that has a short term, intermediate, and long term appendage to it that will, you know what I'm saying, complete a power punch. That you know what I'm saying? Like, this is the Democrats just be so lackluster. Like, they are eating you up right now.
Yeah. Bringing
It's
while
just it's
bringing nothing
almost
to the
remarkable.
table. So yeah. Yeah, I mean,
It's wicked.
but just like you said, and we could start to close it out.
Mhm.
Just like you said, we can't live in a world where you know that type of skirting the line and playing with acceptability and playing with boundaries like that, where we have political parties that's willing to, because then it's just like it's a free fall. You know what I mean? And that's why the bad guy typically wins, because the quote unquote good guys are too busy worrying about the boundaries and making sure the boundaries aren't skirted and making sure that it's fairness and everybody, while the niggas is willing to do whatever, or
Going crazy,
yeah, just
running
saying
them up.
fuck that, you can maintain the boundaries, y'all play that game, right? I'm gonna do what I do, and I got enough people that's willing to ride with me to let me do it, right? Which is it's a scary thought. It's a scary thought, and definitely something that we should think about as we end this year, going into a midterm year next year. Definitely something to think about.
Well, we'll continue to stir the pot in ways that make a whole lot of sense for us and what our planet is supposed to do. Any minute now, the Democrats should probably start making a little bit of noise about the candidates that they want to start to put into the, forefront of people. We'll start hearing from people and seeing more front runners and the people who are supposed to be trying to captivate voting attention later. If y'all aren't hip to it, y'all know we're not Democrats, we're not Republicans, we Black. And our investments are in making sure that Blackness and the fullness thereof, Black and queer, Black and millennial, Black and leftist, Black and poor, Black and all of those things are calculations that we make. Black and disabled, right? The positionalities that we don't necessarily occupy, but our families do, our friends do, our cousins do, our people we care about do. And so we're invested in those futures, in those realities. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's how we gonna kind of move. But decisions ought to be made. It's a blessing rocking with y'all. Thank y'all for tapping in with this conversation. If you hadn't hit the thumb already, go ahead and do that. If you coming into the end of the conversation, start from the beginning. And we know that might be kind of difficult because we had some technical difficulties today. So thank y'all for sticking in and rocking with us and making sure that we was good. Maybe more difficulties on our side than y'all side, but we definitely seeing little alerts and little flashes that's telling us we're not giving y'all what we're supposed to be giving y'all. So we had to make sure we attend to those things. We love you so much. Jump in the comment and talk to us. The pluggers don't do a better job at responding to our comments. I'm holding, I'm saying it out loud right here. So if
I
y'all,
just responded to
reason
something the
we
other
get
day.
a tap back, it's because the pluggy is being a scholar and being amazing. So I ain't about to act like my dog just be chilling or whatever. But just know I put that on him for this time. So y'all heard it here first. He's gonna be responding to your comments for this video. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we love it. I love my brother, man. I love y'all. This is quality time. This is family time. Emmanuel in the building. Thank y'all. So thank you for being here, start to finish. Nicole jumped in. J Universe, GA, devastating, little Indian, like everybody. Keep it funky. Thank you so much for dropping that super chat. That was a blessing to us. Chris was in the building. Just a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? And for the people who didn't jump in the chat but stayed and rock with us, we forever grateful. Thank y'all.
Hey, well, yeah, we out. It's the chop up. We will see y'all next time. Peace.